I've been going to this church for 51 years.
Oh.
Okay. And I know I don't look 51. Shut up, Jim. He said, no, you don't. But there are still some of you, when I see you, my mind goes blank and I can't think of your name. So I'll say, hello, sunshine. Hello, gorgeous. My dad got in trouble one time because my mom, he would say, somebody coming out the door, he'd say, well, hello, beautiful. How are you doing this morning? Glad to see you. And he did that all day. And we got home and she says, how, you never call me beautiful. And she said, and he said, well, honey, I know your name. True story.
He needs to come to the ministry.
It wouldn't help. ADD would just blocked all that out. I know your name. Okay. I had a dream. Not Martin Luther King. This is something different. I had a dream that I went to heaven. And the archangel was walking us around, and I was there. I was with Paul and St. Peter and walking through there. They took Paul to his house. Beautiful little cabin, tree in the front yard, small porch, one chair. Here's your home. We walked on a little bit further, took Peter to his house. He had a little bit bigger home. He had 2 chairs on the front porch. Then we got going further and further down the street, and there's this huge antebellum mansion with servants and Rolls Royces and diamonds and gold everywhere, decorated kind of like Trump would. And I said, my goodness, who lives there? And he says, you do, Tim. I said, really, me? Let's see. He said, what about these other great men of the Bible? He says, we have lots of great men of the Bible, but you're the first lawyer to make it. If I had any feelings, they'd be hurt. Don't you have those removed in law school? Today we're going to go through the book of Numbers, and I got to tell you, if I had my way, we'd all sit on the floor, applesauce crisscross, because these are all the Bible stories we heard growing up. And that's what we're going to do this morning. And if you're really good, maybe you'll get a Tootsie Roll when you leave class. But these stories are the best stories. But what I never realized as a child was how brutal some of them got to be. And I'm thinking, and as a child, it didn't really get me. But it's an interesting book. I like Leviticus because I like all the laws. That kind of gives you the basis of where we get our law and order, justice and penalties today come out of Leviticus and the first part of Numbers. Raise your hand. Do you know why the book of Numbers is called Numbers? They numbered them how many times? Yeah, numbered them twice. He did 2 census, one at the beginning and one at the end. And it's about the same number of people at the beginning as there was at the end. And that's why it's called the book of Numbers. I had decided that I wanted to read. I've read it through probably 5 or 6 times. But the interesting thing about the book of Numbers, as opposed to other books of history and that sort of thing, it only covers about 40 years. I mean, 40 years is not very long. I remember 40 years ago fairly well. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I can remember 40 years ago. And that's all this time that this covers, all this takes place in. And if any of you have read this, what is the chief characteristic of the Israelite people, would you say?
Short memory, forgetful. Don't remember.
What do you say? Short memory? A lot of complaining. I don't like the manna. I want something else. Okay, so you got your Bibles out. Hopefully, we're going. I'm going to skip a lot of this in the first 10 chapters because that's a lot of names and stuff. And I don't care who Shibboleth gave birth to Abinadab, who ate two goats. Okay. Not really interested in that. Don't have anything really applicable that I can make out of that. So we're going to start in chapter 11. Chapter 11 is where the fire starts. And in chapter 11, first words out of the mouth of the writer here. Now the people complained about their hardships in the hearing of the Lord. And when he heard them, his anger was aroused. Now, have you complained about anything this morning? Think hard. I see some heads shaking like this. I see some. What's that old joke? You know, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, did it make a sound? If a man is talking in the forest and there's no one there to hear him, is he still wrong? And if a woman is talking in the forest and there's no one there to hear her, is she still complaining?
Too far, brother.
Okay, too far. All right. Now the men was always wrong was no problem. We're not wrong. We just don't know the whole answer. What specifically, verse 11, verse 1, what were they complaining about? Anything in particular? Can you tell? Their hardships. What do you reckon their hardships were? Now, remember, where had they just come from?
A lot of hardship.
A lot of hardships. They were slaves in Egypt. But y'all have seen the Ten Commandments. You know, it's pretty nice in Egypt in some places. You know, big palaces and stuff.
Tim, they even described it, and I don't know if I picked up on this, and I can't remember what chapter it was in, but they described it as a land of milk and honey.
Yeah, he took us out of Egypt, the land of milk and honey. Have y'all ever heard the grammarian expression that it's always past perfect and present tense? That's kind of how we remember things. How were the good old days? Better than today?
No.
No. No, well, there's been some bad old days too, right? And some good old days. I remember bad days. I remember getting squashed. I remember getting shot. I remember, heart attack. I got all kinds of stuff. But that's not really what I remember. What I remember is the happy days, having my kids around, my sweet wife telling me what to eat and stuff, good memories. And these people complained about their hardships. Now, they were gone from Egypt out into the desert. Now, any of y'all seen any pictures of the Sinai desert? Have you? You like it?
No.
It's not any place you'd want to hang out? Well, that may be what they're talking about. And they cried out to Moses, and he prayed to the Lord. And the fire, when they were complaining, God got irritated, and fire from the Lord burned among them and consumed some on the outskirts of the camp. And when the people cried out to Moses, he prayed to the Lord, the fire died down. It didn't go out. It died down. So that place was called Taberah because fire from the Lord had burned among them. Now, we're Christians. We live in a new dispensation of love and forgiveness, right? Did you ever give any thought to the fact that God can get very angry with you? And how does it register to concede that God has emotions? God can get so angry. Have you ever been angry enough to burn somebody alive? I mean, other than your husband, okay? I mean, that's pretty angry, isn't it? And God said, "You people want to complain?" Boom, fire came down, and they go, "Oh, Moses, help us!" So Moses did. Uh, where did the fire begin in the camp? On the outskirts. Do you think there's any reason for that? No. What stopped the fire? The prayer of Moses stopped there. Why do you think complaining angered God so much?
Care for them so much, and they should be able to remember all that he had done for them.
Yeah.
Hearing their cry in Egypt to where they are now, they cried about water, they cried about food, manna, they cried they had no meat. I mean, it's just been,
It goes on and on. It's like God had children. Yes, sir.
Guys, you know, part of the Red Sea, everything that happened to them, he fixed it.
Yeah.
So now at this point, he's probably saying, "You ungrateful so and so."
Yeah. I mean, God
Back on the right track.
God gets sick up and fed with their complaining and their whining.
In the back, so
And yeah, maybe in the back is where they were talking. You know, they weren't talking to Moses. They were talking, who were they talking to? Now, the people complained about the hardships within the hearing of the Lord, and he heard them. So I don't know where they were, but I guess he heard them. And he didn't like that. So God really got angry. And I think you're right. I think it's because they couldn't remember everything God had done for them. You want to come out of Egypt? Come out of Egypt. You know, you want me to feed you in the desert? Manna's coming. You know, you want me to do this, you want me to do that, and do that. And then, it sure is hard out here in the desert. Fire. You know. Have you ever had a child complain about anything and having no idea what all you've done for them? You gave them life. You clothed them. You fed them. You housed them. You took care of them. You paid their doctor bills. You encouraged them. You didn't kill them when their mother said to kill them.
You gave them
All-
exactly what they wanted for lunch, but you cut it in squares. instead of-
Yes. I can't eat it. It's got crust on it. No, okay. How does that, as a parent, make you feel? Do you ever worry about your children being ungrateful? Have you ever done that? I've never experienced ungrateful children. And I have never, but I've heard about them. Yeah.
Was grumbling.
Yeah. But ingratitude is a most unattractive quality in a child. Here, would you like a piece of candy? You going to say thank you? Nah. Okay. God's looking at the Israelites, and the Israelites are basically ungrateful. I gave you I want to come out of Egypt. Yeah.
When I made the comment that the old days were not better, I don't think they were.
I don't either sometimes.
You and I agree with that. But I will say, when I judge now, I would say this is a very appropriate lesson, because this is the age of complaining.
It really is.
The interesting thing about complaining, my second point is, it's like a fire. One person starts whining, then the next one picks it up, the next one picks it up, you go, once again, we'll say social media, Facebook, man, it's like throwing gasoline on it.
It does. It does. Have any of y'all ever worked or in an environment where there was one or two people that were just constant complainers? Oh, and don't they just to draw friends? No, it's a terrible thing, and God doesn't like it either. Complaining became spiritually dangerous for these people because you could die from complaining too much. How However, the prayer and intercession resolve the conflict. Can it do that today? Have we ever had to repent of our complaining? You know, Kingwood is a very, I don't know, how shall I say this? It's a place where most of us live pretty comfortably in air-conditioned houses. Some of us live in great big, huge, wonderful houses. Some of us live in just regular houses. But we compared to 95% of the population of the world, we live in mansions. And sometimes we complain that, you know, my house is not as nice as so-and-so's house, you know. I can never have a house as nice as hers or nice as his, or I never have as much in my 401k as I really need, you know, and we complain. And instead of looking at what we've got, we look at what we don't have. Huh? The bubble, the KW bubble. And we live in it. And we've raised our children in it. Had to be careful not to fall into it too deeply. What was their next complaint? Chapter 11, verses 4 through 30 and following.
They wanted meat.
They wanted meat. Okay, who in here likes meat? I do. Okay. So I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not I like to eat dead animals that are cooked just right. Like I used to tell my child, you ever play with your children and do this? Would you eat a dead chicken? No. Would you eat a live one? But they okay. We're out of Egypt. God has stopped burning us up for complaining, and we've been eating manna. What is it? There's something I want that's missing. What is it? Oh, meat. Got no meat. Now they had herds and flocks, but apparently that wasn't the kind of meat they were craving. They were craving some roast turkey or quail. So they whined about not having meat. So they came back out here and they romanticized their life in Egypt, and they had so much to eat in Egypt. And meat was plentiful. And it was, yeah, of course, and you got beat by whips every day too, but that's beside the point, I know. Do you think nostalgia makes people forget their past sufferings? Have you ever had it really hard? Hard? Most of us have. You've had some hard times in your life, but you think about it now, well, if you're like me, you're just almost 60. And you think about the good old days back when I was 30 years old. Boy, things were good then. But I remember back then, I remember thinking, how am I going to make that next house payment? These kids are driving me nutty. Where's my wife? Where left me here with the kids? You know? Yeah.
I think is that we like variety in our meals.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Okay? Because I'm not gonna eat eggs every breakfast, 7 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year. But I only had two things to eat, manna and quail, period, end of statement. And if I had to eat quail every day for 40 years and manna every day for 40 years, I get sick and tired of it too. I remember my carrots, I remember my broccoli, excuse me.
yeah.
Forget broccoli. But I'm saying, we have to have variety. They have variety, and they really did when they were back.
They really did. And you may not know this, but in New England, in the times of when people enforced slavery in New England, they thought lobster was trash fish. And if you hired somebody on, they would put in their contracts that they wouldn't be forced to eat lobster more than 2 or 3 times a week. You know, I wanted to go there. And as it said, you know, they probably didn't have butter and garlic sauce, but it was, they were craving for meat. Okay. What are some ways believers today show dissatisfaction with God's provision? How do we, oh, we just had somebody stand up and ask for volunteers to do something. How,
Complain about the service sometimes.
you ever complain about the service? Yeah? You ever complain about the food? Not if you know what's good for you. Do you ever complain about somebody's behavior and traffic patterns on the freeway?
Getting a little close to home now.
Yeah. You ever get in Bob Bailey's way on the feeder road? Not something you want. That maximum is pretty fast. And do we ever complain about anything? My guess is we all complain about something nearly every day. You know, I wish I had this. I wish I could do this. I wish this worked out like this. I wish it, you know, and complaining is a bad habit. And I had no idea how much it irritated God until I was reading this. He was killing people right and left for complaining. Makes me want to keep my mouth shut, you know? I don't need to be talking.
I think it's because we forget that God is our creator.
Mm-hmm.
And we also forget that he loves us. He loved these people.
Yeah.
They forgot that.
It's,
When we forget that God loves us, it's easier to complain. And I think that's why well, I don't know if it's why, but in Philippians and other Thessalonians, we're told, give thanks in all circumstances, not for, but in all.
in all things, give thanks.
And the more we spend in gratitude, the less we spend in complaining.
That's right. The attitude of gratitude will save you a lot of grief in your life. Now, I had a thought and it went away. Oh, well.
And
Yeah.
our complaining springs, and several said it's from a lack of gratitude. And our lack of gratitude comes from taking our blessings for granted. I mean, everything I've got, I've already got. I want more. I want different or less or
That's
whatever.
It's like the famous lines from Evita. I don't want much. I just want more. Or from another movie that'll remain nameless because I can't believe I watched it. And it says, I don't want all the money. I just want all the stuff. So we get used to it. Now, these people seem to have an unusual love for complaining. Now, and it irritated God. And my thought was this: have you ever loved somebody that did not love you back and treated you badly? What does that feel like?
Terrible.
It feels terrible. Have you ever been in love with somebody who didn't love you? Took a while, but I finally persuaded her. But somebody that's what is the expression? Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Somebody that you love and they could care less about you.
Well, and I want to carry that a little bit further too, Tim, because we know that Israel is in a covenant relationship with Yahweh. This is a marriage that God has
Absolutely.
with his people. And the people are pining for an identity of another, when like we just got married at Mount Sinai in this covenant, in this, like we are betrothed to each other. And now you're telling me that you would much rather go over here? Like, of course he's
You'd
gonna-
rather go back and live with your mom and dad? Okay, go. No, you live here now. I was told, I can tell you this story because all these people are dead. But my mom and dad ran off and got married when they were very young, 10 days after she turned 16. And he had just turned 20. And they snuck out the window, ran and got in a car and drove off to Abilene where he was in college and got married. Guess what she figured out after a little while? This is no bed of roses. this exciting, take charge, go get a man can also be a pain in the neck to live with, you know? Can I get an amen? And, and she went home, visited her mom, and her mom says, you can't stay here. You're married. You got to go stay with your husband. You're not staying here. One of the best things my grandma and grandpa ever did. And then, okay. And they were married for, I forget how many years, 65 years. Mainly because Grandma Latson said, you ain't coming home. You made your bed, so to speak, and had 5 children, and so you staying home. Okay. To love somebody and then have them not return love can be very painful, and God can be hurt by me. I don't want to hurt God after all he's done for me. But then I get some very special complainers come to see me. My own brother and sister come and say in chapter 12, verse 1, who do you think you are? Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Miriam and Aaron began to talk, not to Moses, but against Moses, because of his Cushite wife, for he had married a Cushite. Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? They asked. Hasn't he also spoken through us? And the Lord heard this. Now Moses was very humble, more humble than anyone else on the face of the earth. And at once the Lord said to Moses, Aaron and Miriam, come out to the tent of meeting, all 3 of you. So the 3 of them went out, and the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood at the entrance of the tent, summoned Aaron and Miriam, and when the 2 of them stepped forward, he said, listen to me. When there's a prophet among you, I, the Lord, reveal myself to them in visions. I speak in dreams, etc., etc. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Joseph? The anger of the Lord burned against him, and he left him. And he came back and turned Miriam's hand leprous. Don't hold this against us, Father, they pray. Have you ever had a brother and sister come and say, just who do you think you are? Huh? I know that has happened to some of you. You try to take charge of a family problem and get it solved or whatever, and some other family member just says, well, who made you the king of the world? Who said this was your decision? I do a lot of probates. Guess what happens in probates? Sometimes the children get into a tiff. A knockdown, drag out, 4-year, $80,000 in attorney's fees tiff. Fighting over something because they didn't like what mama named you as the executor of the will and not me. And it causes a lot of hard feelings. Aaron and Miriam, his brother and his sister, come to him and say, who made you you? And God came down out of the sky and said, I made him. And he just lit them up. Moses cried out to the Lord when Miriam got leprosy. It's his sister. He said, Lord, please, God, heal her. And the Lord replied to Moses, if her father had spit in her face, would she not have been in disgrace for 7 days? Confine her outside the camp for 7 days, and after that, she can be brought back. So Miriam was confined outside the camp for 7 days, and the people did not move on till she was brought back. After that, the people that left Hazeroth and encamped in the desert of Paran. Apparently, Miriam, what is the problem with a Cushite wife?
It's not Israel.
She's not an Israelite. She's a different race, a different people. And you're bringing And how important is genealogy to the Jewish people? It's very, and then you bring in this outsider from another country, from another race, and you're supposed to be the leader of Israel. It seems to me that Miriam was the more culpable here. Because it doesn't mention any punishment for Aaron, but Miriam, his sister, didn't like his wife. You ever know a sister that didn't like a brother's wife? You ever know a brother's wife who didn't like the husband's sister? These little family feuds can get intense. And they came to him, and God said, I'm not having it. Stop it. What goes on next?
Can I stop you right here?
Yes, ma'am.
We see it more. But as you're talking, you know, I'm thinking Moses. Okay, basically God said, I chose Moses no matter what. He's
Mhm.
my chosen.
Right.
But Moses was over and over, he said, he went to the Lord. There was a problem, he went to the Lord. People were mad, he went to the Lord. These are happening, he went to the Lord. I thought, what a good example Moses is for me.
Oh,
When things are happening, go to God.
what is it? Is that our first impulse? Should it be our first impulse? No matter what problem comes up, your first impulse should be go to the Lord. Lots of times we sit there and read those prayer requests that the church sends out to everything. We stop and we have to pray for this person, you know?
Well, and he didn't try to defend himself. He didn't defend himself to the people.
Oh, but
To Aaron or Miriam, he did, to them, he did, now, did he talk to God and say, well, why are you doing this? And, you know.
right. He didn't argue with God. He didn't argue with the people. He just says, fall down on his face and let me go ask God. Let's go do whatever God says. And he did that every time, and it worked.
Hey, Tim,
Yeah.
not to revert back. You know where Cush is?
Cush is in northern Africa, I think.
It's south of Egypt. It's, some say it's the southern Sudan or Nubia or Ethiopia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Totally different.
Completely different races of people. Absolutely. But-
Not only that, the culture and the religion, if you're gonna bring, you know, a pagan religion into a covenant relationship, that's not gonna work with God.
Yeah.
Not at all.
What if one of your children was gonna marry somebody from the church next door instead of from your church? Oh my goodness. You know, God forbid, you know, you're gonna marry somebody from Church of Christ, or you're gonna marry a Baptist? Or are you Baptist? You're gonna marry somebody from the Baptist church or from the Church of Christ? We don't want any strange pagan religions. Okay, now,
Not Moses considered the type of Christ, and especially when you see all of this intercessory work going on.
say again.
Wasn't Moses considered a type of Jesus? And all of this intercession that he's making here,
A type of either?
Prototype.
A prototype, yes, yes, yes.
all of that intercessory work like Jesus is still doing for us and will forevermore.
Exactly. Now, could the people, I mean, Moses had to be the intercessor. God talked to Moses face to face over and over and over. Who else could do that? Nobody.
Not even the high priest.
Not even the high priest. And who was the high priest? That's right. So Aaron couldn't do it. Miriam couldn't do it. No Israelite could go into the holy place and talk to God. Only Moses. Our intercessor, and he interceded even when people attacked him, like Miriam and Aaron did, coming in and saying, hey, we can prophesy. Who are you to be the leader? You know, we can be leaders too. And so they're casting asparagus on his leadership, and he doesn't say, well, God did this to me and I'm going to burn you up with fire if you don't behave. That's not what he said. He goes and he talks to God. He intercedes for people that even people that treat him badly. You ever pray for somebody who treated you badly? I have. That's hard to do. That's hard to do. But Moses did it over and over.
Only with the help of God's Spirit can I pray for someone who's.
Yeah. No, there's this some people. Well, it's actually complaining makes God angry. You know, sometimes complaining and criticism makes us kind of angry sometimes. Let's talk about Korah. Yeah, let's look over chapter 16. What accusation did Korah and his followers make against Moses? Chapter 16, starting in verse 1. They say it up?
Made you the boss, why are you over all of us?
Yeah. We're as good as you. Who said you get to be the boss? That the kid said, you're not the boss of me. And what did they do? They became, what's that word there? They became insolent. What does insolent mean? You ever had an insolent employee? You ever had an insolent? What?
That's how it's spelled.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Insolent. You ever had an insolent child? Well, they got together with 250 Israelite men, well-known community leaders, who've been appointed the most influential members of the church and the council, and they came up as a group to oppose Moses and Aaron and said to them, you have gone too far. The whole community, all of us are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is with every one of us. And why do you set yourself up above the Lord's assembly? You ever heard this before? You ever heard, wait a minute, so-and-so is an elder, I bet I'm as good as he is, if not better. Are you better than me? Are you saying you're better than me? Do you know anybody better than you? I heard a chuckle. Do you think anybody is better than you? I know there's quite a few people better than me, but I wouldn't like to admit it to their face. You're better than, you're putting yourself up here and you're better than us. You're the high and mighty Moses and we're the sorry people. And when Moses heard this, he fell face down and he said to Korah and all his followers, in the morning, the Lord will show you who belongs to him and who is holy, and he will have that person come near him. The man he chooses will come near him. Who did he choose?
Aaron.
Huh?
Aaron.
Aaron. They put all their staffs in there, and God will choose in the morning. You go in there in the morning, the staffs are still there, but Aaron's staff has budded
And
produced just for icing on the cake. It produced almonds and flowers, and the rest of them were just sticks. And so Moses said to Korah, now listen, you Levites, isn't it enough for you that God separated you from the... Now, wait a minute. Who are the Levites?
They are separated part, they are the ones who are taking care of the tabernacle.
They are the holy molies of the Israelite nation. They're responsible for taking care of the temple. That from them come the priesthood. From them come all this stuff. And then, so we're pretty important guys, us Levites. And we come to Moses and say, who made you king? Why do you set yourself above us? we're all very holy. So how come you get to be at the head of the crowd? And I love the language, why'd you put yourself there? Did Moses put himself there? Did Moses even want to do this? And in here, does Moses not say, Lord, why am I burdened with these people? Why don't you just kill me now? Did y'all read that? I heard my mama say that once or twice. Why'd you give me all these kids? Just kill me. Just get rid of them. And what happened to the people when they complained?
He gives them another challenge with the incense burners,
What?
with the incense burners. But then, he,
Then comes the ground opening up and.
The ground
swallowing all.
open. He said, everybody get away from these guys and get it. Don't touch anything. Get away from them. And then the earth swallowed up Korah and all his friends. What I can't get over is after this rebellion, the earth opened up, swallowed all those people up, and fire came down and consumed another 250 of them. And then where's that beginning of the next chapter?
Yeah, you'd think after watching that, you'd be on
You'd think, and then go over to verse 41 in chapter 16. After all people got swallowed up by the earth and burnt to a crisp and all this, what happened in verse 41? When? The next day. Yeah, well, duh. What is going on with these people? The very next day, they grumbled against Moses and Aaron. Oh, you've killed the Lord's people. But when the assembly gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron and turned toward the tent of meeting, suddenly the Lord covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. Then Moses and Aaron went to the front of the tent of meeting, and the Lord said to Moses, get away from this assembly so I can put an end to them at once. God said, okay, Moses, you and Aaron stand over here. I'm going to fry these people. And Moses said to Aaron, take your censer and put it in and increase the burning coals. So Aaron, he did what Moses told him to do to make atonement. But there was already a plague running through the camp. God was serious about this. These people would not shut up with the complaining. And finally, Aaron got over there and stood between the plague and the people, and the plague stopped. But 14,700 people died from the plague, in addition to those who died because of Korah. Then Aaron returned to Moses at the tent of meeting, and the plague had stopped. Then we get the budding staff, and we get the duties of the priests and the Levites.
yeah,
Yes.
seeing God's wrath here. Why don't people, when they read this, how can they understand that God's wrath will come at the end?
Yeah.
He will destroy.
Well, let me ask you this. As a human being, do these punishments seem a little bit extreme?
They do, I think that, yes, they do, except that he can't stand the sin that's happening.
God is God just?
Yes.
God is just, and sometimes he's merciful too.
Yes.
These people were getting God's justice. It was not wrong what he did. God made us.
Yeah, and Tim, I even question, and we'll talk about this some next week when I'm up behind you, but I think we've all thought, especially when it comes to Aaron and Moses. I mean, every time I read it, my mind goes, that's not fair.
Yeah, me too.
Hopefully I'm not the only one that, I mean, every time I read it, it's like, just because you did it this way and you're asked to do it this way, and now you're not, after all you've done, does anybody else feel that way? Or
I mean,
it's,
Our justice
It's
system
just, but it's.
doesn't work like that. Yeah. If we put you on trial and you're convicted of cursing your parents, take you outside and set you on fire. Does that sound like something we'd do? Probably not. Is that what God said to do with them? Yeah. Take them outside and stone them to death. Why? Well, he cursed his mama. I've heard people curse their mama before and they nearly got killed. But we don't, I think one of the reasons these stories are in here is because we live in the age of Christianity. We live in the age of boundless mercy and forgiveness. But it is the same God in heaven today that was with Moses and Aaron in the Old Testament. So, what do you think we're supposed to learn from these stories? Even in our age as Christians, what are some of the lessons you think we should be learning?
Christ died for us.
Christ died for us.
He expects obedience, though. He expects you to respect the covenant.
He expects obedience, respect to the covenant. You
mentioned earlier, how hurtful it is for someone not to love you back.
Yes.
Jesus experienced not being loved back at the highest level of any human that's ever been on the face of this planet. He came to heal, he came to help people, he told the truth, and he got punished for it.
Mm-hmm. He did. So, raise your hand if you're saved. Raise your hand if you've complained. Okay, you're saved and you're complained. Do you love your kids? Did you beat them with a stick anyway when they were bad? Yes. Is there a consequence to sin? Yes.
Always.
Is there forgiveness of sin?
Yes.
Does forgiveness mean lack of consequences? No. I love you, but how many times I told you you can't punch your sister? You can't. That's 4 licks. Guaranteed. It was, but she did this. I'm not saying she didn't deserve it, but you're not allowed to hit girls, period. End of sentence. Whap, 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 whap. You're forgiven. But you still got the consequence. Yes.
There are a lot of things that we have that are totally due, and it's everything we have is due to the grace of God.
Yeah.
What is the wages of sin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just straight out death. So we don't, and how many of us have sinned? Every one of us. Multiple times, daily. Our society, how do we sin? We sin daily. We use the Lord's God's name in vain. We do all kinds of stuff. We just, oh, well, we're saved. We're okay. That kind of, which kind of the Israelites were having that same attitude. We're going along here. We're being fed. We're complaining, but God, I don't know if he's up there or whatever.
Yeah.
And God's grace was being taken for granted. So when you live in you're in the bubble and so forth, you have to realize every bit of that is not due to you or me. It is due to God's grace. And these things are to be used for his making, his glory, not mine.
That's right. And I don't understand why God does what it is. But I think one of the reasons this is in here and all these horrible things happen to all these people is for us to go over here to the sacrifice of Christ and realize how angry we have made our Maker and how much grace is pouring over us. every minute of every day because of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. God is angry when we do stuff. Some little thing like complaining, we don't think it's a big deal. God does, and he doesn't like it. So don't do it. There's a lot of things God doesn't like. He doesn't like us being judgmental. He doesn't like us being arrogant. He doesn't like us taking everything he has given us for granted. It's like giving a kid a brand new Corvette on his 16th birthday. Got no way to appreciate what that is. None. Because they're stupid. We're supposed to mature to where we figure out, oh, God did all this. How much of it did I do? Nothing. God did this. You know? Anyway, the bronze serpent, I guess we'll have to talk about that another time, but God got mad at him again, and this was one of the scariest plagues I thought of. They got to complaining again. He sent a bunch of snakes in there to bite them. I hate snakes. I hate even sweet snakes. I hate them. They won't hurt you. I hate them. Okay. Remember, the only thing I want you to really to remember from this class is remember that there's no little sin. Every sin we commit, especially of the tongue, the complaining, the whining, that sort of stuff, angers the Almighty God. And but for the huge buckets of grace that are poured over us all day, every day, we would be condemned to the devil's hell. Yes, sir.
I would be angry too if I said, I said before you life and death is the power of the tongue. He says before you life and death, and then gives you the answer and said, so choose life. But you choose to.
You choose life or you choose death.
Yeah, it's only.
And he gave his son. Anybody in here got a son? I got one or two. Would I give one of them to save your life? Probably not. Well, maybe one of them. As my sweet wife would say, I'm just picking. Thank you all for your attention. Come back next week. It'll be even better.